Well, hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Can anybody hear me out there? Hello, Sorrenti, I can see you. Always the first one. Welcome, Sorrenti, I appreciate that. Makes me feel good seeing your name come up first, kind of like an old comfortable chair, you know? We'll give it a few minutes. You can hear and see me. Thanks. Excellent. Good deal. We'll give it a few minutes, let some folks show up. Hello, Kim. Welcome. How are you doing, darling? Sure had fun on the live stream earlier with Bobby and Megan. I get notifications. Yep, there you go. I think a lot of people get notifications, Sorrenti, but maybe they don't pay as much attention to them as what they could have. Hello, Christine. Welcome. Glad you're here. Glad to see you made it. Weigold, metal detecting. How are you, sir? Nice to see you. Hey, Austin. How you doing, Austin? Glad to see you made it here. Getting most of the regular crew in. Awesome. We got lots of really good positive stuff to talk about this week. I have had an awesome week this past week. And we'll give it a few more minutes, let some more folks show up, and then we'll get into it. But it's been a great week for old Grandpa this week. Been a really good week. So I'm in a good mood. Fine, I had to pause my video editing to catch this week's live stream. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Weigold. But you know, sometimes when you're in video editing mode, I have found that I can just do so much for so long, and then sometimes it's good for me to disconnect. And then when I go back to what I was editing, I was like, what in the hell was I thinking? And I do stuff completely different. I've had to do a couple videos completely over before because I didn't like what I did the first time. So there's some advantages to taking a fresh look at stuff, I guess. So maybe I didn't interrupt your work too much. Hey, Johanna. Hey, darling. How are you? I'm glad you made it today. I haven't spoken to you very much at all lately. Hello, Chips Ahoy. Welcome. Wow, a lot of people showing up. Cool. Very, very cool. Glad to see folks coming in. Things up here in Alaska are cold and wet. I think this is like, I don't know, the 137th Sunday in a row that it's rained, it seems like. It is raining outside as we speak. It seems like it's been raining every single Sunday. I've been meaning to get outside and do a live stream out there with the shrimp traps and stuff to show those, but not happening. So, hello, Mountain Hunter Homestead. Glad you made it. That's what I'm doing right now. Been editing a video from yesterday. Hike to a rock house. To a rock house or the rock house? I used to live in Southeast Ohio. There's a place there called Rock House, one of the state parks. Hello, Rhonda. Glad you could make it. Cheshire Canaries here. Yeah, Rock House State Park is a state park there in Ohio. So is that what you were? Is that what you was videotaping, Weigold? I'd be interested to know. I know that area real well. Hey, T. Glad to see Teresa made it here. Awesome. Awesome. Very cool. Getting a good crowd. A rock house that's on a trail in San Diego. No, not the same one. Not if it's in San Diego. Not at all. Hey, Reich Edwards. Glad you made it. You survived the. Hey, cool. You survived the sailing school. How was it? Did you have a good time with that? Did you learn much? Hey, Kelly. Glad you could see. Glad. Blah, 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 blah. I can't speak. Glad you made it. Hey, last nice guy. Yeah, man. You know, it is raining. Believe it or not, it is raining again. This is like the millionth Sunday in a row that it's been raining, and it is raining outside as we speak. Beautiful day yesterday. Beautiful day. Could have done it yesterday, no problem. But I'm not going to bring the computers and stuff out in the rain, so we're talking about fishing today, and I'll explain to you why we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But Recycle Cottage and Garden, hey, welcome. So, right, you had a good time with it. Good. Yep, good. Those sailing schools can be really interesting. You know, one of the things that we didn't really do a sailing school, but we chartered a catamaran in the BVI and we had a skipper on board who was supposed to show us the ropes. The only problem was I knew more than she did, especially when it came to use of the navionics, electronics, and boat systems and that sort of stuff. So she was pretty much a waste of time. But, hey, we fed her and she sailed around with us for a week and we had a good time. But other than that, man, it was rough. So maybe if I had gone to one of the regular sailing schools, I have no interest in that. That might change at some point. I might decide to be stupid and get a six-pack license or something so I can have paying guests on board. But I doubt it. I don't think I'm ever going to go that route. So, hey, Kelly Binkley, how was the bowling? Did you go bowling this morning? I know you're a big-time bowler. I used to bowl a lot when I was a kid. Haven't gone bowling in years. Yes, I'm going to talk about why cruisers don't catch fish. Very good last night's guy one. I've been watching a lot of these videos. Let me just go ahead and start what I want to talk about. I think we got enough people here. I think there's like 20-some people in the house. So why don't I just go ahead and jump into things? First of all, guys, I had an awesome week. Absolute awesome week. Hey, Paulie D, welcome. Had all kinds of really good stuff happening. Let me go down I have a list of good stuff that happened to me. First of all, I happened to catch on YouTube live Prairie Home Companion. I don't know if any of you guys are Garrison Keillor fans, but I've listened to him on National Public Radio for years now and have been a big fan. He's now retired, but they did his show live on YouTube, and they're going to continue, except now they break from now till October. But starting in October, they'll start that back up again. So I thought that was really cool that I caught an episode of Prairie Home Companion. To me, it creates an atmosphere that I just really feel comfortable in and enjoy. So lists are always good. Sell the farm. Teresa, I'll get to that. Yes. Bowled on Wednesday and Thursday. I survived it and had a lot of fun. Very, very, very tough competition to bowl. Oh, cool. Well, I'm glad you had a good time, Kelly. Okay, so yeah, Rhonda is incorrect. I do have the farm sold. How's that for information? Okay. I say that because we've got all the final details worked out. We're signing the documents tomorrow, I believe. And so now we have a pretty hard date, August 1st. We have a pretty hard date of August 1st. So it looks like, still a long way to go, but it looks like we are actually in contract tomorrow and everything should be good. So should be cool to see what happens now going forward. Okay, other good things. Live on YouTube, I caught a Jimmy Buffett concert. Caught that last night. Man, I kicked back, drank the last 2 beers in my fridge, had a hell of an evening last night enjoying Jimmy Buffett live on YouTube, watching his live show. I was really amazed at how many people on there didn't have a clue who Jimmy Buffett was. I mean, there were a lot of people getting on there. Well, who's Jimmy Buffett? Why is this such a big deal? And absolutely hysterical. Christine, thank you on the congratulations. Thank you, Teresa, too. So, yep, congratulations to me. Thank you, last night's guy. Okay, what else is news? Yesterday was the first auction of my purge of my stuff. Of course, the guy didn't bother giving me a list or telling me how it went. I just know they came here and loaded up a couple truckloads and trailer loads of stuff, hauled it to their auction, which they had yesterday. It all sold. I've looked around. They haven't made a dent in the stuff that I have here. So the guy was talking like, $5,000 worth of stuff is what he guesstimated I was going to make from what he hauled away. But they haven't made a dent in the stuff I have here. They have another auction coming up in 1 month, and they're going to haul away the mother load of my stuff for that one, I believe. So that's cool. Getting rid of that stuff, purging more stuff. Mad at me for no peonies. Sorry, Teresa, you'll have to plant your own. You will have to plant your own. Okay, what else happened? Hockey. I've been following the Stanley Cup, and I want Nashville to win. I don't know why. I've never been a fan of Nashville before. I just think it would be really cool if Nashville, this, breadbasket of America kind. I mean, it's not a northern town, okay? This isn't Montreal. This isn't Edmonton. This isn't a hockey town. I just think it'd be great if Nashville won. Nashville is currently leading their series 3-2. Pittsburgh, which was my second choice, is leading their series 3-2. So it looks like we may have Pittsburgh playing Nashville, which would be an awesome series. So having fun with that as well. Been watching the Golf Channel, having fun. Guys, I'm watching a lot of boob tube. There's just not a whole lot I can do up here this time of year. I'm not farming, which is kind of weird for me. And I'm not sailing. I'm not cruising yet. I'm waiting for people to do what they got to do. So I'm watching a lot of TV. So I'm getting it all out of my system now. So once I go sailing, I won't have to deal with it ever again. And frankly, aside from the few things I've mentioned, there ain't crap on TV. I've got like 300 channels on Dish Network, and more often than not, there's nothing worthwhile watching. Not going to miss that at all. Sailing Desiderata. That's an interesting name. Hey, welcome, by the way. Go Preds. I was a fan, but I did live there when they weren't really good. Hey, I can understand that, man. I used to be a Long Island Ducks fan. When I was a kid growing up, I was a Long Island Ducks fan. Now, we're talking pre-New York Islanders. Long Island Ducks became the New York Islanders, which, as you know, went on to win a lot of hockey games and became a franchise. But that is what it is. So I understand supporting a team while they're getting going, but it was a local team. I lived on Long Island, so of course I supported the Long Island team. But yeah, it's very depressing to turn on the TV these days. Hockey sticks make good masts for sabots. Sailboats. I think you mean sailboats. Yep, hockey stick. It'd be a small sailboat. Be a very small sailboat. Hockey sticks aren't really that big. But yeah, Weigold, I agree with you. TV sucks. And the biggest mistake people used to make, first thing in the morning, you turn on the TV, you listen to the news and all that depressing crap. I don't do that anymore. I don't know if you can hear in the background. I've got radio playing. Good friend of mine, Eric Stone, who's a trop rock musician, very much in the Jimmy Buffett genre kind of music. For anybody that's in the sailing, cruising genre, you probably know who Eric Stone is. And Eric's been kind enough to let me use his music in my videos. So you'll start hearing some Eric Stone music in my videos. So Eric and his wife are currently down in the BVI doing a little concert tour down there. He used to live down there in the USVI. Most recently, he was living in Marathon, had a restaurant there while I had my real estate office in Marathon. Fortunately, neither of those businesses still exist. He sold the restaurant and I closed my business. So anyhow, long story. So it's been a great week, man. Enjoyed the hockey games. Enjoyed some live streams on the TV that were really cool, worthy of me mentioning to you. More importantly, we had the auction, moved a lot of stuff. Most important news was we are signing contracts tomorrow on the property. We finally have that hammered out. And now August 1st is going to be the day I hope to be driving out of Alaska. That's the day we're looking like we're supposed to be closing by, on or before August 1st. So pretty cool stuff. I'm really jazzed about that. So Sunset Grill, a favorite. Sunset Grill down in the islands, down in the Florida Keys. Is that what you're referring to? Yes, the Sunset Grill there on the south end of Marathon is an awesome place. One of the few restaurants that I know of that you can stand in the pool. It's a restaurant with a swimming pool, guys. You can tie up at the dock, walk up the dock, get into their swimming pool, and be served dinner while you're swimming and while you're standing in the pool. They'll bring the food and set it right there on the pool edge. You can eat while you're standing in the swimming pool. Really nice place. Comfortable stools in there. Good restaurant. Food's awesome. Drinks are nice. Really nice place to watch a sunset from. Did that many times. So, yep, Sunset Grill's a favorite. Okay. Fishing for dummies. That's what I think I'm going to call this. I've been watching sailing, cruising videos for decades now, guys. I mean, I remember back when Paul and Cheryl Shard were the only people producing videos about sailing, and they first did their stuff in the Bahamas when they did their Distant Shores TV show. And the only way I could get videos about sailing was to buy DVDs, which I have. In fact, I've got some of them right up on the shelf here above me from back then. So I've been doing this and researching this and dreaming about this, focusing about this for decades. I am flabbergasted at the amount of people that go sailing and cruising that don't have a clue how to catch a fish. Now, I know I've talked about this before in other live streams. I know I've talked about this in other videos, but it's important. If you're an old bastard like me that you don't have a lot of money and you're going to plan on sailing around the world under a really tight budget, then you better make sure you can feed yourself. And I'm amazed at how many of these guys go out sailing, whether you're sailing in the water on top of the world's biggest refrigerator. The biggest generator of food in the world is literally underneath your boat. And I'm amazed at how many people don't know how to catch fish. Teresa says, know how to catch a fish, don't know how to sail. She knows how to catch a fish, don't know how to sail. Okay. Let me start out with a couple basic truisms that people need to understand when they're fishing saltwater, which is different than freshwater. A little bit different. Not a lot different, but a little bit different. In saltwater, fish are more apt to swim in a school of fish. Congregation, you'll get a large amount of fish that'll all be swimming. Wait a minute, I think I actually have aids here. I've got visual aids. You'll see fish out swimming in a school of fish, okay? They're all swimming together. The reason they do that is because it protects them individually from predators. It makes them appear like one larger thing, and they're more apt to survive. But see, here's the other aspect of that. When you are a predator fish and you're going to go out after these bait fishes for your dinner, you cannot expend more energy getting that food than you are going to get from eating that food. In other words, you can't burn 1,000 calories to eat a 500-calorie fish. You have to make sure that you get a good reward for your efforts. Otherwise, it's a zero-sum game. You're going to lose weight instead of gain weight. You're going to die. It's that simple. Since it's 5 o'clock here, I'm having an Alaskan Amber Ale. Hey, man, cool. Go for it, man. Alaskan Amber is a good beer. So here's the thing. When you're out fishing, realize that the fish that you're trying to attract, the target species you're going after, has to have a good return on its investment. It has to go after something that odds are high that it's going to have some success. So if you're going out in the middle of the ocean and you're dragging one single lure behind you, here's one single lure, and you're dragging this from Mexico to French Polynesia, the fish you're trying to catch aren't going to bother going after this because it's only one bait, and the odds are they're not going to get one bait. They have to improve their odds, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? So I'm going to suggest, I'm not going to suggest, I'm going to tell you, if you want to be successful in putting food on the table, if you want to be able to reduce your budget, your expenditures for groceries, and man, talk to these cruisers, you're going to find out groceries is like the #1 budget item. They spend more money on groceries than almost anything else that they're spending money on. So if you can reduce that by providing your own proteins, you can make a huge dent in that budget. Leastways I'm planning on it. So here's the thing. If you're going to go out and fish, don't drag one bait, drag a bunch of them. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Where's my visual aid? Hold on one second. There you go. Here's a single dredge spread. Okay. Here is a single dredge spread. This is a regular fishing boat a saltwater boat going out, and to give you an idea of what they have behind them. You'll notice that there is 5, 6 long baits out. And then there's this one thing that looks like a whole bunch of little stuff together. You guys see that? That thing that looks like a whole bunch of stuff together, that's the dredge. That's the thing that's emulating a school of fish. Teresa, depending on where you're fishing, will determine whether or not you'll need a saltwater license or not. Saltwater licenses are required by some states and not others. I like all fish as long as they don't glow in the dark. There you go. I agree with that. Okay. So what you need to do with your sailboat is you need to recreate this situation that you see here in front of you. You need to be able to recreate a multiple bait trawl behind your boat so it looks like you've got a school of fish running behind you. Guys, they actually have, I thought this was hysterical. They actually have little patterns that you could put on the bottom of your boat that you could paint on to make the bottom of your boat look like a school of fish. You actually paint fish onto the bottom of your boat, so the underside of your boat looks like a bunch of fish. It's weird. I can't imagine doing that, but they make that. Okay, so here's what you want to do. You want to go out and get yourself some devices like this. Hey, Beth. Haven't seen you here in a while. Glad you made it. Don't need license to fish saltwater in California as long as it's for pleasure, not income. Yeah, every state has its own regulations. Outriggers. Reich, I'll get to that. Outriggers here in just a moment. Until a shark bites the bottom of your boat. Yes, Renti, that does happen. Okay, this is a spreader, guys. This is a dredge. In this particular one, this is a weighted dredge. You can see the weight, a little bit of weight in the middle. There has 4 arms that stick out. Each one of these arms, I gotta turn this off. This is irritating me. There we go. Sorry, Eric. You got 4 arms, and you can connect 2 lures on each arm, and you connect one up underneath where the weight is. What I normally will do in this situation, well, before I move on to that, here is that was a 8-pack dredge. Here's a 12-pack dredge where you can add even more on. What I do is I put these dredges out on each rod. Not on one rod. I don't just put one rod out with a dredge on it. I put out 4 rods, even the back of my little sailboat, even my little cow, which only had about a 10-foot beam to it. I could troll 4 rods out behind me without any kind of outriggers or downriggers, okay? And I could drag 4 of these multiple hook baits, creating the appearance of 4 or 5 schools of fish falling behind my boat. Highly effective, okay? Very, very highly effective. So what I would do is, let me go back here to where you can see me on the webcam. There we are. I would go out and I would get a whole bunch of baits. Like this dude and this little guy here and, you know, maybe a pink squid type thing and a little rubbery fish thing and a little squid deal. You see a little squid deal here? I would put a whole bunch of these out at once. I would do a 6-pack, 8-pack dredge of just squid. I would do a 12-pack of these little needle fishes. These are rigged. They've got hooks in them, okay? I would do 12 packs of little doohickers like these here in various colors. And then on the dredge in the middle, I would put a bait like this, a much larger, heavier bait set up with a larger hook. See if I can show that to you. There you go, much larger hook. I would set him up in the middle, and I would set him back about a foot or 2 behind longer than everything else. He's the stinger. He's what they're going to go after. They're going to pull up going after that line of fish. They're going to see this guy in the back, and they're going to go after him because they think he's either going to be another fish trying to eat them, or they think there's something wrong with him. He's a little different than the rest of them, so they're going to go after this guy. And that's the guy you want to have your best baits on. In all the dredges, you want to have the one bait in the very middle to be 1, 2, or 3 feet behind the rest of the dredge, giving the appearance of a fish that's going after the dredge. Nothing will tick off a mahi-mahi or a tuna or any of the preferred pelagic species that you want to target than having some other fish going after them and having competition. So those are all a good idea to try to set up that way. Here's an example of a guy with an Alabama rig. If any of you guys are from Alabama, don't need a license on it. Here, let me quick catch up here. Squid. Yeah, squid. We only have piers in my area. Fish from a beach or boat, you need one. Okay. This is an Alabama rig. And what you have here is you've got a whole bunch of dredges connected together, creating the appearance of one really big, large school of bait fish. Highly effective. And there's nothing wrong with that. Put 4 or 5 or 6 or 8. Get a little unmanageable getting 8, but 3 or 4 or 5 dredges in a row behind your boat will be very, very successful in getting people or getting fish to attack that. They also make, and I'm not a big proponent of these, they also make these plastic dredges you can pull behind your boat that have pictures of fish holographically printed on the plastic that you can tow behind your boat. And it's the same thing. It's a dredge with a whole bunch of what looks like bait. Now, these are not actual lures. These are little fish painted on plastic. So, and you know me, I'm really against having any more plastic in the ocean. So I don't recommend these for people, but it's another thing that's out there, and they do work. When you're rigging these up, you're going to want to use a daisy chain bait. Like you can see here in this picture, here's a daisy chain bait. And what this is one bait in front of another. I think I've got one here with me. Yeah, I've got one here with me. Let me transition back over to the live cam. Okay, this is a daisy chain bait of a sort. And what this does is, as this is traveling in the water, as the bait's traveling in the water, you'll have this little teaser. Notice it's got this little square arms on it. This will travel in the water like a little helicopter spinning and making noise up on the surface as an attractor. So sometimes dropping one of these back in your spread can be highly effective. Now, with that said, there are other methods of making a spread. Let's say in my boat I can put 4 rods out behind me, but I want more than that. Well, I might go to a flasher with a planer. This is the Pink Lady by Lawrence. It's a planer designed to troll in the water. You troll it this way with the planer first, and then the flasher comes in behind that, and then you have baits back on the flasher. The flasher spins and reflects light and attracts fish. This is rigged so that while you're towing it like this in this position. It's designed to handle just so much weight behind it, and it'll keep going down and away from your boat as it's being trolled. The way it's centered on the card here, it's going to go down and away from your boat, taking that bait down deeper and further away from your boat. But once the fish hits, that pops up into this position, and now it's going to turn. There's a little leading edge on here. You see it's weighted. There's a little leading edge. This will then take it up to the surface and makes it easier to roll into your rig. These are made to take baits further away and deeper away from your boat. So that's a technique for adding another rod and getting it away so you're not tangling them all up behind your boat, which does happen. And then that brings me to this fella. I don't know if you can see that, but this is a big lead weight. It's known as a downrigger ball. You can set these up on your boat to drop them down in the water. You can drop these down to whatever depth you want. You attach to the end of this. You have a line. This line just goes up to your boat. You don't have any baits connected to this at all usually, okay? What you can connect to this But usually what you connect to the line going down to that weight is a little doohicker that looks like this. You connect this onto the line. I don't know if you can see that there. You connect that onto the line. That trolls this little clip, which has a little release to it. And I just pulled it up. You see how that catches the line in. So as you're trolling along, okay, it's going to troll just fine until such time. And now this is just connecting your bait. So your rod will be in a rod holder. Your line will go straight down. Your rod's going to come down. Your line's going to come down here and connect to this, which is being towed behind that downrigger, that heavy weight. When a fish catches into this and bites the bait, it pops off of this, and now your line is free. And now this is just underneath the water swimming along. You pull this up, you reset it, you drop it back down again. These are made for dropping your lines down deep. It's called a down drop or downrigger rig. Again, the idea is this way you can get multiple lines out in the water without tangling them all up, so you can get the creation of a school of bait fish behind your boat. That's the key thing that you're looking for, is that creation of a whole bunch of fish. Going out and trolling one stinking lure behind your boat, I don't care if you troll this one stinking lure for 10 days, you're not going to catch enough fish with one bait out behind your boat to impact your budget, okay? You need to put a lot of stuff out. Now, all this fishing gear costs a lot of money, and I understand that. Rods, fishing rods, all that stuff is very expensive. I have seen some people do some pretty dumb things also on boats, like this. This is a hand line. I've seen people take fishing reels and mount reels directly onto the boat and then run a line from the fishing reel straight back without the use of a fishing rod. You don't want to do that, and you don't want to use hand lines. Most of the fish that you're targeting have a soft, fairly soft mouth. You're already traveling through the water 5-6 knots, so you're moving along pretty good. The purpose of that rod, okay, the purpose of that rod is to act as a shock absorber, as a spring on that fish. It's to keep the line taut at all times, but at no time to really put a shock load into that fish's mouth. It's to provide the bait and provide a bit of a shock absorber. When you're using a straight hand line, or you're running a line that's tied hard onto the back of your boat, when that fish does grab it, it's just going to rip his mouth apart. You're just going to tear him up, and you're going to lose a lot of fish that way. One more thing on this: when you're fishing from a boat, a sailboat, you're sailing, be prepared to have you or a member of your crew depower your boat immediately when you catch a fish. You want to be able to drop your sails. If you're under power, it's easy. Just crank your engine back. Just put it neutral. If you're sailing, you want to drop those sails just as quickly as possible to take the power out of your boat, so you have less stress on that fish you're trying to reel in. So many times I've seen cruisers put big heavy lines out there. They'll catch a fish, and that fish will literally hit the surface and just bounce along the top of the surface planing, not even swimming. It's just up there planing. Those are the ones they tend to be able to drive in or reel in, because there's very little resistance. They're traveling so fast the fish doesn't stand a chance. If that fish got down the water and could get a little purchase in the water from them, they'd rip the hook out and they would lose that. So, okay, I missed a bunch of comments here. Let me go back and I'll see if I can get these guys. So hold on one second. Bear with me. Let's see, squid. Yep, squid. Squid make a great bait. Not to mention they're good eating. Doctor fills out a form that you are disabled. Use a walker wheelchair. License is free. Huh. Again, Beth, that depends on your states. But as far as I'm concerned, all seniors should be free anyway. And in some places, a lot of places they are. 65 and older, you usually can fish for free for the rest of your life. Whatever happened to putting a worm on a hook? Yeah, Paulie D, saltwater, that's just not applicable. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I have used sandworms to catch flounder before. Very common practice on Long Island where I grew up. We used to do that quite a bit. Is that why chum is effective? Okay, chum, Reich, is a whole different category. And as a general rule, you're not going to use chum if you're sailing and traveling in the water. And that's what I'm talking about here is while you're sailing from point A to point B, you can't do that. Yes, Rhonda's correct. I am not going for panfish and using a bobber. We're talking about catching some serious fish, some big fish. We're talking about catching, and I didn't get any pictures of them, but we're talking about catching mahi-mahi. We're talking about catching tunas. We're talking about catching pretty good sized fish. Predicated though, let me preface that, okay? Just me, one guy on a boat, a 3 to 5 pound fish is all I need a day. One fish, 3 to 5 pounds in size. So, we're not talking about big mama chicken. Where am I in the camera here? We're not talking about big mama chicken fish. We're talking about smaller fish are ideal. That way I get a fresh meal for myself and I'm not having to worry about keeping refrigeration maintained to maintain the fish in the refrigerator. So, but chum works very well in salt water, but chum's a whole different technique. Now, if you're in an anchorage, let's say, and it's in an area that is got some access to some pelagic water, a good current moving through there, then you might want to put some chum out to attract some bait fish up to where you're at, if that's what your target species is. Just be aware that if you're chumming, you're attracting sharks. I don't care where you live in the world, if you're putting chum in the water, you're going to attract sharks. And to me, the man in the gray suit is more of a pain in the neck while fishing than anything else, unless he's the target species. Then they're a lot of fun. Keep in mind, some sharks are pretty good eating. So, hey, Parrot Sailor, what up? Glad you made it. Bloodworms for saltwater. Yes, we've used a lot of bloodworms before for saltwater. Mostly, like I said, flounder fishing in the bays, in the tidal bays on Long Island, East Shore. They work pretty good in those areas. I know nothing about fishing. Only thing I ever caught was a buzz from the pier I was drinking. Yep. Yeah, well, that's true. Well, you know what they say what fishing is? Fishing is a jerk on one end of the line waiting for a jerk on the other. And so that kind of sums up fishing. But let me get some more things here. I said I'll use live bait. I won't use live bait on a sailboat lures, baby. Yeah, parasail, absolutely. I don't use live bait while I'm out sailing. I don't want to attract sharks because quite often I'm swimming in the same area as I'm fishing. So, but usually I'm fishing while underway. I will be doing a lot of fishing in bays and stuff, but I'll take the dinghy and go around places. I won't be fishing off the sailboat. Some I will, not a lot. But I tend to use lures almost exclusively, whether I be fly fishing or trolling or, just casting into rocky areas and what have you. So, okay. Kelly Brinkley said, don't you have to be careful on what you catch because it might not be edible or safe to eat? Yes, Kelly, absolutely. Along the reef, you want to watch out for those fishes that are going to be loading up with ciguatera, which is a disease that happens. Normally in small fish, it's not usually a problem because of the low concentration. What happens is the bigger prey fish in the reefs will eat enough of the small fish and will pack into themselves a toxic level of ciguatera. And then if you go eat that fish, that's what you're getting in the meat of it. So, yes, you do have to be careful of some things. But, when I fish, I'm mostly catch and release. A lot of what I catch, I throw back, especially while I'm out cruising. Because, it's just me and I just have my own wee little frying pan. So I don't need a whole big fish. I just need a little fish for dinner, and I'm good to go. So I tend not to target. I'm not going out there looking for a sailfish or a marlin, a big wahoo. Will I harvest them? I won't take a marlin. Might sell fish. Depends on the sailfish. Rarely will I do that. Swordfish, certainly I would take. But I'm looking for, good chicken size mahi-mahis, good, smaller tunas, of the right varieties. I'm not looking to go out and catch these, 600, 500, 600 pound fish. I have no interest in catching those while I'm out cruising. I don't have the gear, the equipment, the means necessary to be able to handle them. Hell, I couldn't even pull them out of the water. So why bother? I'm going out for dinner. And that would be my motivation. I'm not going out there as a sportsman trying to catch some big fish. So I'm thinking of an inflatable kayak for inshore, light and easy to break down for passage. Yeah, Parrot Sailor, I will be doing all my inshore fishing just out of a dinghy, just out of my dinghy. That's probably going to be sufficient for 90% of what it is I'm going to be doing, including getting in shallow enough for, fishing the sand flats and stuff. If I'm in that shallow, I can just step out of the boat and walk. So there's not much point in trying to go too shallow with like a kayak or something. If it's so shallow that I need a kayak, I can just walk in there. So and I like to do that. I like to fly fish. So and that's almost exclusively catch and release. There's very little fish that I catch on a fly rod in salt water that I would want to eat. So now we sail. Good info. Okay, well, I'm glad. Thank you. I'm glad it's good info. Yeah. The key thing to remember is that the target species that you're going after is not going to waste its time going after a single bait. You've got to create the appearance of a school of fish to get them to go after what you're trying to catch, and then go from there. Was interesting. West Coast barracuda we eat, but I guess not on the East Coast. Last nice guy, yeah, people will eat barracuda east and west coast. It depends on the person. For the most part, barracuda are not a target species. They're not a great eating fish, east coast or west coast. If I was on the west coast, I would rather eat yellowtail than barracuda. I would rather eat tuna than barracuda. I'd rather eat mako shark than barracuda. I'd rather eat Humboldt squid. I'd rather eat flounders than barracuda. Barracuda are high up in the reef chain, have a lot of ciguatera risk to them. Generally speaking, I don't use barracuda for much other than as a chum when I'm shark fishing. So remember, you got to treat Lily too. Yes, and Lily loves fish. Being the good Labrador retriever that she is, she enjoys eating fish. In fact, it's one of the problems I have to watch out with Lily, because she will raid my bait stash. If I catch, like I might catch a barracuda and cut it up into little chunks for bait so I can go catch other fish with it. If I do that, she'll get in there and eat them. Hogfish, right? Yep. Now you're talking. Hogfish, excellent. But hogfish, as a general rule, aren't caught on a line. Usually, hogfish is a spear fish species. I very rarely have ever caught a hogfish on a rod and reel or on a line. Usually, I'm spear fishing, then I catch hogfish. And some of the best eating that there is. Permit are good eating. Yeah, I'm not keen on permit. Makes a good backup tank. Yeah, absolutely would make a good backup tank. Absolutely. Yep. Nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with having a kayak, a stand-up paddle board. All those toys are fun stuff to have. I'm going to fish from a boat because I'm a fat old bastard and I'm going to do things easy on me. So, okay, what did I miss in my photo stuff I wanted to show you guys? Some different baits. Yeah, well, here's a squid bait. I showed you that squid bait. You saw what that looked like. Here's an umbrella rig that comes as a kit. You can buy this as a kit. So it comes in a little bag. You get the weighted spreaders, and then you get a number of baits that connect to them. This is a different variety of that. Hello, Nonna Grace. Welcome. Glad you made it here. Has to break down for me. The sup and all that crap on deck makes me uneasy. Well, the stand-up paddle boards, the sups are inflatable, Parrot Sailor. You can buy inflatable ones now, which seems odd to me that it would be inflatable, but sure enough, they are. So here's another picture of a dredge with baits already attached to it. Give you an example of some other options you can do. And, the proof is in the pudding. So here's a picture of a dredge with a nice striped bass on it. When I was a kid growing up in New York on Long Island, we used to drag these dredges around behind us all the time. It was what we used to catch bluefish and striped bass on Long Island. we would drag a bait that had a bunch of little hose-looking things, little tubes, little plastic tubes would connect to the dredge. That's those. In this case, these are squid-looking baits. But we would drag these little tubes that were like a foot or two long, and drag those in an umbrella rig. And when we would do that, we were pretty successful in catching fish. So I learned at a very young age, how successful these dredges were. And it seems to me that, if you're sailing around the world or even just going to live on your sailboat for a while, the investment of a couple of cheap rods, let's look at the numbers, okay? Some of these baits, oh, and by the way, if you have baits, always rig them with wire. Don't ever rig with monofilament. These baits here, like this squid bait, I bought this pre-rigged. It came pre-rigged. See that I put heavy monofilament on it? There's 200-pound monofilament. A lot of the species of fish that I'm going after would bite right through that monofilament like it was nothing. And then I would lose an expensive bait. So always rig your baits with wire, not monofilament, because the wire, usually speaking, cannot be bit through. Species out there like wahoo will just bite right through that monofilament. Even barracuda will bite right through that. So rig with stainless steel wire. What else was I saying? I don't know. Troll lots of them behind your boat. Create a school of fish. You're going to increase your odds pretty substantially. So, sold 2 of those rigs on Friday. Oh, yes. Rhonda, by the way, works for a call center that handles sporting goods. So, she gets a lot of those calls on a regular basis. They work. Did you fish the Atlantic or the Sound? Both. Both. When I lived in Long Island in New York, I kept my boat out of Port Washington. So that's on the north shore of Long Island. But we would also trailer it down on the south shore. And, I think back today as to what I did back then. And I'm just amazed that, if my parents knew the shit that I was doing with that boat. I remember taking my boat very early in the morning. We'd be at, Amityville or someplace on the South Shore. And the sun would be starting to come up, and I would head off into the sunset with my 40 horsepower Mercury on my 16-foot boat. And I would go for a solid hour towards the sunrise. Okay? I'm doing 40 miles an hour, folks. So at the end of an hour, I am now 40 miles offshore at what we would call the canyon off Long Island. I would go out to the canyon off Long Island, which is at 40 to 60 miles due east, southeast, and I'd go out there and fish for sharks and tuna and stuff in a 16-foot boat, 40 miles offshore. It was crazy, but I never thought anything about it at the time. Today, I was like, holy shit, what the hell was I doing? But back then, I never thought anything about it. So yeah, I've fished quite a bit on Long Island Sound and offshore on the South Shore. Fished quite a bit in Seattle, up here in Alaska, saltwater, down in Florida, saltwater, Caribbean, Virgin Islands, Jamaica, Mexico. I've fished a lot of places. Persian Gulf, saltwater fish in the Persian Gulf. I fished a lot of places. So I have, maybe I have a little credibility because I have a little experience with that. Not nearly as much experience as I'm going to have starting this fall, however, because starting this fall, I'm going to be a full-time fisherman, and that's how I'm going to eat. There's my diet, folks. If I don't catch it, I don't eat it. If I don't eat it, I don't eat. So, Kelly, striped bass, very good eating. Yeah, striped bass are very good eating. I enjoy striped bass. I used to use number 2 perch for bait for stripers. Yeah. Goggle eyes, anything in that 6 to 8 inch range. We used to use. We used to go out on Long Island and you do offshore casting. We have big longshore rods and go out and cast for stripers that way too. But mostly we trolled for them. Ran into a deal locally on Friday that I couldn't pass up. Ended up buying a boat. I pretty much told, hey, Paulie D, cool. What'd you buy? Do tell. That's crazy with a single engine. Yes, right. That was absolutely crazy with a single engine. And I'll tell you, I had been out there and ran out of fuel before. I always made sure I carried 4 hours of running time fuel. So that was about 20 gallons of fuel. 5 gallon can would run me solid for an hour out there. I would burn through 2 cans of fuel out there and then 1 can of fuel coming back after trolling all day. And, here again, as it started getting towards evening, you just follow the sunset. I was always amazed that I could go out, sort of on a southeasterly direction, no compass, and go an hour's run and then head south or north for an hour or so and turn around and come back and hit, and I would end up being pretty darn close. I guess, come to think of it, maybe it was the currents, the way the currents were flowing, but I was always amazed at how I would come back in and be pretty darn close to where I left from. So dumb luck, stupidity, dead reckoning, I don't know what you want to call it, but I always had pretty good luck that way. A Cherubini Hunter 30, really nice. Sweet. Nice job, Paulie D. Good deal. That'll be a lot of fun. Where are you keeping that? Ooh, a Cherubini Hunter 30. What did he pay for that? I'm going to say, well, it depends. If it's a fairly new one, it could be, $100,000. If it's an old one, it could be $5,000. It just depends on the condition of the boat. Wide range in there. It would be hard to say whether it's a good value or not without actually seeing it and knowing the details. That is 2 pounds. Last nice guy. What do you mean that's 2 pounds? What's 2 pounds? Last nice guy one. I don't understand what you mean by 2 pounds. Paraseller, 15,000 in good shape. Okay, Paraseller is saying that Cherubini Hunter 30 is worth about 15 in good shape. Well, most of the sailboats in around that 30-foot range are in that $15,000 to $20,000 price range in good shape. It depends, It depends. I paid $20,000 for my Cal 30, sold it for 19. So, at a marina in New York, 1,200. Oh man, you stole that. If it's floating, that's a good deal. Maybe not so much luck, but natural sailor instincts. Well, I'm not going to agree that it was natural instincts until I can prove myself a bit more. But I don't know. Maybe. I think it was just dumb luck. But I mean, I would do that 2 or 3 or 4 times every summer. So for a couple of years there. So I mean, it wasn't like it was just one shot. So it's a 1983. Very cool. 1983. Wow, that was a long time ago. Yeah, Paraseller, I agree with you. He got it for the marina fees. He just paid what was owed. Last guy wasn't paying his storage. He got it for marina fees. You got a good deal there, Paulie. You got an excellent deal. 2 pound perch for bait. Yes. Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty good sized bait. But if you're going out for big stripers, I could see them taking a 2 pound fish for bait. Absolutely. So cool. Very cool. Okay, so what else is going on? Checking my notes. Yeah, so remember when you're out fishing that the fish you're trying to target cannot expend more energy than what it's going to get from whatever bait you're putting out there. You got to make your bait look attractive enough to them for that fish to be well. I have seen really good lunker fish just sit there and watch a bait go right by them. Unless it's a real easy grab for them, like it's bouncing and hitting them right in the nose, they're going to let it go by. They're just not going to expend the energy. They're looking for those, really simple, easy grabs. They're not going to work that hard for it. So you just got to be aware of that while you're out fishing. Put out a big dredge, make it look like a big school of fish behind your boat, and you're going to attract a lot more attention. Now, with that said, there's also a problem because I have had the occasion when I got 4 rods out, and each rod has got a dredge on it. So I've got 16 to 20 hooks in the water at one time. And I've gone through a school of fish and picked up 8 fish at one time. I got 4 rods bent over going at one time. And there's just wee little old me on the boat. So that's when you have to leave. That's when you have to leave the boat in gear and going to keep your lines from tangling. And even then, the fish are going to swim and they're going to tangle the lines themselves. So you're just going to have to accept that and deal with it as part of the deal of it. But yeah, that is a problem. Sometimes you'll be trolling along a whole bunch of baits and you'll run into a school of tuna, as an example. Or what we used to run into a lot on Long Island is a school of stripers or a school of bluefish. And, you know, you'll go for an hour and not catch anything, and then all of a sudden 4 rods go off at once because you just dragged those baits right through the middle of a school of bluefish. So fun stuff, fun stuff. But you'll learn about that with time, and you'll figure it out. You know, the point is, don't expect that you're going to go out. You're not going to stick this on the back of your boat, or this, or even this. You're not going to stick this bait on the back of your boat and troll it for 2,000 miles and expect that you're going to catch enough food to survive on. Whereas you put out a spread, you know, put out 4 rods and put out 12 hooks out there on those 4 rods, and maybe have a couple of dredges or 2 without any hooks in them. Maybe put some baits out there with no hooks in them, just to attract attention. And that, you know, that's where those hand reels. That's where having a reel mounted directly to the boat. That's great for putting out those dummies that don't have hooks on them. That's fine for that. But you just gotta create that spread. So I love bluefish, but most people can't seem to cook one. Yeah, parrot sailor, I've never liked bluefish my entire life. Be honest with you. My mom loved bluefish. To me, they were always a little bit too oily, too fishy tasting. Bluefish to me were fishy tasting. It almost ruined me from eating fish until I ate some really good fish and found out that not all the fish in the ocean taste like bluefish. So, are you going to be able to store extra fish anyway to keep it freezer, etc.? Yes, Kelly, we will have a small refrigerator freezer on board the boat, but it's not like having a chest freezer in your home. So, there won't be much in the way of long-term storage. Depending on the boat I get, I might invest in one of the Engel coolers, Engle, I think it's spelled. Engel makes a like a cooler. It's like an ice chest, like a cooler, but it's electric, and they work as deep freezers. Very efficient. They don't draw a lot of power, so you can run them off of solar panels and a battery bank, and that would enable me to be able to store some. But I would only have real need for that when I'm, you know, transiting oceans, you know, when I'm doing those 20 and 30-day offshore trips. For the most part, I think I'll be able to keep myself in fish just from normal fishing, you know, from what I'm doing. And of course, we're just talking about one small aspect of fishing here. There's a whole lot of other stuff to talk about. We're not talking about watercolor. We're not talking about water temperature. We're not talking about topography. We're not talking about, you know, depths to fish at, fish finders, or all the other technology out there. This is just one really small little bit of information about fishing. So I'm trying to present this stuff in little digestible bites that people can take one at a time, because there's a whole lot more to learn about fishing. And we will, with time, go into all those other things and then put all of that together, which I really hope to be doing this fall while I'm out on the boat, putting all that together and showing you how it's working and what I'm doing. So, love watching billfish hit a school of baitfish. Oh man, love it too. And in fact, one of the challenges, one of my bucket list things is to be on the water filming that with the camera. I've seen it happen a number of times by watching other people's footage. I can't wait till I'm the guy in the water filming while they're not just eating it, but also building the bait ball. Quite often, the billfish will raise their sail on their back and swim in circles and drive the bait fish to the surface and drive them tighter and tighter into a ball. I'd like to be able to film all of that. So, hello, Rusty Esterling. Nice to see you. It's a new name. Good info, refitting an Ocean Voyager 26, 1985, looking to the Great Loop and maybe islands. For now, we'll be on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Fishing will be on the plane. Awesome, awesome. Now, see, the Mississippi Gulf Coast, completely different types of fishing there. You know, you're fishing shallows, mud banks. So, you know, you've got fairly shallow water that runs out for long distances. Around that area, a lot of guys will go to the shrimp boats and follow behind the shrimp boats and throw baits out there for the tuna and stuff that follow the shrimp boats out in the Gulf. A lot of guys will go out to the oil rigs, which act as a FAG, a fish aggregating device. Structure in the water is a fish aggregating device. Anything. I don't care what it is. It's a fish aggregating device. If there's a wooden pallet floating out in the ocean, it's a FAG. It's a fish aggregating device. In fact, if you're out sailing in the ocean and you see a pallet floating, slow your boat down, get out your fly rod or your casting rod, and make some pitches towards that, because that's where you're going to catch. Your mahi-mahi are going to hang out around that. Your triple tails are going to hang out around that. I'm amazed at how sometimes in the great expanse of the ocean, there can be something as simple as a pallet floating out there, and there's a ton of fish around it. So, weed lines is another thing to look for too. Grass weed lines, always a great way to pick up some fish. The old lady is very worried about running out of food. Not that I have her convinced to move on to a sailboat. Parasailor, little bites, man, little bites. Get a sailboat and go out for short sails and day sails. A couple hours here, a couple hours there, maybe an overnight or two. Build it up. Build it up. I took my old lady sailing in the Caribbean. We went down to the British Virgin Islands and chartered a $500,000 catamaran for a couple of weeks. Big mistake, because then she thought that that's what we had to have in order to go sailing. We had to have that catamaran. Long story short, decade later, I've divorced her, and now I'm going on a monohull by myself. My passion, your passion is what your passion is, folks. And, my passion was for her. Apparently her passion was not for me. So it is what it is. Move on. Fishy taste comes from the oil. Same with kingfish in Florida. I cook them whole on the grill. Fill cavity with citrus and onions. Acid pulls all the oil out. Yes, absolutely, Parrot. I agree with that completely. Yes. The fishy taste does come from the oil. And, and as a result, you're right. There are a number of cooking techniques that you can use to mitigate that. I don't like cats, sorry. Parrot Seller, I don't like cats as in felines, but I love catamarans. I know that's a love-hate relationship for some people, but I like the stability of a catamaran. I like the level sailing. I like being able to put my coffee cup down and not have it go sliding all over the place. So, yuck, my coffee is now cold. Yeah, don't like cold coffee. And that's okay. Not everybody has to like catamarans, and not everybody has to like monohulls. And you're a good guy whether you like a catamaran or a monohull. It's all good. But yeah, take her out on a nice monohull for a day sail on a nice day, and treat her really good out on the boat and show her a good time and build it up from there. So, fridge that Sailing Uma just installed. I've not watched Sailing Uma's latest video. I don't know what they installed. I want to go to sleep and wake up with the boat upright. Well, parasailer, better upside down and floating than right side up on the bottom. I guess that's the old adage about that. But let's not start the cat versus monohull debate, okay? Let's just agree to disagree and we're good. I'm going to be sailing in a monohull, so, because I can't afford a catamaran. Rusty, what did they install? What did Uma install? I didn't know that they installed a fridge. Was that a I just said them in the what are they? Boy, it sucks getting old. Oh well. Tell me what company or what make fridge they put in. I'd be interested to know that. I know there's a bunch of different manufacturers that can install a whole bunch. I thought they were installing a cooling panel in an existing box. I didn't think they were installing a fridge as much as they were installing a compressor type unit into an existing ice box. Danfoss compressor models are the most bang for amps used. I won't disagree with that. Yeah. Yeah. Can we have a cat versus riding crop debate? Riding crop? Austin, you lost me there, buddy. I don't see the relationship between a catamaran sailboat and a horse riding crop. And I know both of those well. In fact, my mom used to use a riding crop on me when I was a kid. That was the willow stick, was a riding crop. Till I think I was 15 or 16 years old. I took it outside to my dad's shop, fired up the bench grinder, and ran that crop into the bench grinder and left her just a little stubby handle. Hung that stubby handle up on the wall right where she had the riding crop hung up before. Next time she went to go grab that riding crop, it was pretty funny. A cat o' nine tails. I see. No. Different situation altogether. It's cooling seawater with bimetal technology. Cooling seawater with bimetal technology. Interesting. You know, Rusty, I'm a fan of sailing UMAs. I really am. I do have some frustration with people that thumb their nose at generations of experience. And that's something I see sailing UMA and some other people doing. You know, there's decades of experience in the evolution of the modern day sailboat, and to thumb your nose at all of that, I find to be just a little insolent and, you know, and wrong. Well, I kind of have a problem with that, but they have to do what they have to do what's right for them. I am not aware of bimetal technology and what that brings to the table. I will say, you know, trying to take a diesel engine out and powering a sailboat with an electric motor that needs a generator to power the electric motor is just a complete waste of time, because you still have to have the diesel powered, gasoline powered engine to power the batteries, to charge the batteries, to run the motor, should you need power when you need power, unless you think you can rely exclusively on solar. And then, you know, engineers have shown us that they need to have the complete entire top side of a boat covered with solar panels from one corner to another corner to have enough solar gain to actually power an electric motor on a permanent basis. So, I don't know. Bad decision making. When you're out sailing, folks, shit happens. Okay? And oftentimes some serious stuff can happen out there. Changes in the weather can happen, microbursts, whatever. You got to be able to sometimes drop trow and run. And I would keep an engine in a boat. There are some people out there that have pulled their motors out and don't have motors in sailboats because, oh, we're purist sail, what have you. That's fine. I'm a purist sailor too. I'm going to sail 99% of the time. I can assure you that, save the money. But there will be times I'm going to fire up that diesel and get myself the hell out of someplace. So just saying. So no, diesel was not for me. Okay, Rusty, that's cool. Catch must be sailed by the numbers, which I can't do while sleeping. Hubris is the word you're looking for, Gramps. Yes, you're right. You're maybe right, Parrot Sailor. Hubris. Yep. That's a nice way of putting it. Yep. No thing as a single shorthander, monos will keep sailing, too much wind, and she will heel to spill power. Well, that's true. That is true. They are a bit more forgiving. There you go. Got the right word this time. Forgiving. The cooler draws low amps and costs and cools to 40 below the ambient water temperature. Okay, Rusty, so if you're in the tropics and you're sailing around in 86-degree water, which a lot of the Caribbean is, you're only cooling your refrigerator down to 46, which isn't sufficient to keep things cool enough to be of any value. So, I mean, maybe up in New England, that might be handy when you're in 30-degree water or 40 or 50-degree water, but when you're in the Caribbean, I don't see where that would be practical. I mean, I would never be without a diesel, as in no diesel, only electric. Yes, Rusty, I understood that. Okay. Heat pump. Yeah, Parasaur. Yeah, I know that's what a heat pump does. But if it's only cooling to 40 degrees or 40 degrees below the ambient water temperature in the Caribbean, that's not cool enough. You need to be able to cool further than that. So, hello, Yolanda Razzo. Welcome. Glad to see you back. Glad to see you made it. So, anyhow, guys, I think that was the gist of what I was going to talk about today on the show, was just how crazy it is for these people to go out and go fishing and drag a lure or even two lures behind their boat and wonder why they're not catching enough fish to be able to make a difference in their budget. Now I talk a big talk. Okay, I really do. I may blow a lot of hot air. Proof will be in the pudding. So stay tuned, and let me see if I can walk the walk as well, since I'm talking the talk. And we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out this fall. So getting pretty excited now that we have what looks like a pretty rock solid date, August 1st. Going to be exciting to see what happens. It really is. So anyhow, let's see. It's 4:10. We've killed off another great hour. Does anybody have any particular questions about anything at all? I will be happy to answer your questions. I do not know why the sky is blue. I understand why grass is green. Well, Gramps, I've done a lot of fishing, and more than Noy came home with dinner. And more than not came home with dinner. Yeah, I mean, the oceans are this wonderful resource for people to take advantage of, not abuse, but take care of, and so yes, Ron is absolutely correct. It does warm my heart that you guys are participating and asking questions and coming to my live streams. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you doing that. I really do. So, are you going to get that boat that you've been wanting now? Kelly, it's a really good question. I don't know if it's still going to be on the market. And for that matter, even when I go look at it, I'm not going to know that answer until I go look at it. If it's still on the market, yes, I will drive to upstate New York and look at that boat. So, yes, Parrot Sailor, I agree with you. It is not rocket science. And neither is selling a sailboat. Not all that difficult once you understand the basic gist of it. So, fishing is unpredictable. May you be blessed with fishing luck. Why, thank you, Nona. Thank you. I appreciate that. CCW 357. Hey, Grandpa, made it over to check you out. Well, I'm glad you made it. We're just actually winding up now. It's the end of the hour, but I'm glad that you made it here. Wednesday is a big day for me. Why is that, Gold? Why is Wednesday going to be a big day for you? What's going on? What is going on? You'll have to let us know. Okay. Well, guys, I think unless there's some other questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I got to take Miss Lily for a walk. Oh, it's your birthday. Cool. Awesome. Well, happy birthday, Gold. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Gold. Happy birthday to you. And many more. All on the same day. Wow. Huh. I have my birthday, and I have a nephew born on my birthday. My oldest sister, came to me one time on my birthday, my 9th birthday, and said for my birthday she got me a nephew. I didn't know what a nephew was. That's the way I would say it when I was 9. My sister got me a nephew for my birthday. I wanted Army men, so I was bummed, but it is what it is. August, yes, Kim, August 1st looks like. Hey, Kim, talking about August and stuff, you've got to talk to Megan about starting her channel. Use the opportunity while she and Bob are separated to start doing her own channel and announce it before they separate. And while she's working, trying to pay bills and stuff, she ought to start her own channel. It's not that hard. All she needs is a cell phone to do it. It's pretty easy, but she really seriously needs to start her own channel. It would be fun for her and Bob to both have their own channel from the same boat, giving 2 different perspectives, even doing maybe 2 different live streams. It would be very interesting to see the difference in those. So, all right, guys. Well, happy birthday, and glad you enjoyed the show. I appreciate that you appreciate the information, and I guess we'll. They're still arguing if I have a birthday. Okay. Yeah. She really should do her own live stream. It would be her own channel. Period. Picked up on you from following Sailing Doodles. Glad I did. Keep us updated on progress and plans. Yep. Yeah. NJ Tofla and Najita Tofla. I don't know how you're going to say that. Yeah. Please do check in on a regular basis. We will be getting a float here fairly quickly. I hope to be spending August boat shopping and being out on the water come September, maybe more or sooner. So we'll see. But anyhow, guys, you guys have a good week. We'll catch you guys all later. Please do be careful, and if you would, check out our Patreon page. We have one patron. I'm looking for others. And hopefully that'll happen fairly soon. So please check out Grandpa's Farm Gone Sailing on Patreon if you have such an inclination. In the meantime, we'll catch you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. You guys all have a lovely week. We'll catch you later. Bye, guys. It's been great talking to you today.